counterparts. Compared to the airboats of today, early European airboats tended to be somewhat larger, had higher freeboards, and lacked a protective cage surrounding the propeller. 22. They also had a different steering mechanism. Early Farman airboat prototype Lyricashire in 1924. She was capable of speeds of up to 125 km per hour, 67.5 knots. Airboats were steered with a rudder in the water controlled by a steering wheel with throttle control provided by a gas pedal, like an automobile. 21. More modern airboats use an air rudder controlled with a joystick for steering. Early American airboats. Glenn Curtis is credited with building a type of airboat in 1920 to help facilitate his hobby of bow and arrow hunting in the Florida backwoods. The millionaire, who later went on to develop the cities of Hialeah and Miami, combined his talents in the fields of aviation and design to facilitate his hobby, and the end result was Scooter, a 6-passenger, closed-cabin, propeller-driven boat powered by an aircraft engine that allowed it to slip through wetlands at 50 miles per hour, 43 kn. 23. 24. Airboats began to become popular in the United States in the 1930s, when they were independently invented and used by a number of Floridians, most living in or around the Everglades. 12. Some Floridians who invented their own airboats include frog hunter Johnny Lamb, who built a 75-horsepower airboat in 1933 he called the Hooshmobile, and Chokoloskee bladesmen Ernest and Willard Yates, who built an airboat in 1935 they steered via reins attached to a crude wooden rudder. 12. 13. Yates holds the ignominious honor of being the first person to die in an airboating accident, when the engine dislodged and sent the spinning propeller into him. 3. 13. An improved airboat was invented in Utah in 1943 by Cecil Williams, Leo Young, and G. Horton Jensen. 25. Their boat, developed and used near Brigham City, Utah, is sometimes erroneously called First Airboat. At the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge in northern Utah, Cecil S. Williams and G. Horton Jensen sought a solution to the problem of conducting avian botulism studies in the shallow, marshy hinterlands by installing a 40-horsepower Continental aircraft engine, purchased for $99.50, on a flat-bottom 12-foot-long aluminum boat. They built one of the first modern airboats. Their airboat had no seat, so the skipper was forced to kneel in the boat. They dubbed it the Alligator Eye as a response to a joking comment from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service headquarters that they should get an alligator from Louisiana, saddle up and ride the critter during their botulism studies. 26. Their airboat was the first to use an air rudder, a rudder directing the propeller exhaust rather than the water, a major improvement in modern airboat design. 27. The purpose of Williams, Young, and Jensen's airboat was to help preserve and protect bird populations and animal life at the world's largest migratory game bird refuge. 28. The Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge near Brigham City, Utah is a wetlands oasis amid the Great Basin Desert and an essential stopping point for birds migrating across North America. The need for a practical way to navigate a challenging environment of wetlands, shallow water, and thick mud helped inspire Williams, Young, and Jensen to create the flat-bottom airboat, which they initially called an air thrust boat. 27. Designs and subsequent improvements and practical use of the air thrust boats appears to have been a collaborative effort. Leroy Allen, who worked at the refuge since 1936, appears to have also been involved and helped to document a history of events. 29. Many of the early airboats built at the refuge in Utah were shipped to Florida. Early records show it cost roughly $1,600 to build a boat, including the engine. 27. Over the years, The standard design evolved through trial and error, an open, flat-bottom boat with an engine mounted on the back, the driver sitting in an elevated position, and a cage to protect the propeller from objects flying into them. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers uses an airboat to collect herbicide-resistant driller from Lake Seminole, northern Florida. Manufacture and design. Airboat manufacturers tend to be small, family-run businesses that assemble built-to-order boats. Most airboats are manufactured in the United States, although they are also built in Russia, 11, Italy, 30, Finland, 2, 31, Japan, 32, Australia, 4, and elsewhere. Prior to 1950, most airboats were manufactured in France by companies and individuals such as Farman, de Lambert, Andrin Cousine. 16. Modern, commercially manufactured airboat hulls are made of aluminum or fiberglass. The choice of material is determined by the type of terrain in which the vessel will be operated. Airboats intended for use in icy conditions will have sturdier polymer-coated aluminum hulls, while airboats intended for use in marshes will have lighter fiberglass hulls. For instance, 5. Standard hunt forward/trail boats are 10 feet, 3.0 m, long with a 2 to 3 passenger capacity. Tour boats can be much larger, accommodating 18 passengers or more. 3. Engines are either an air-cooled, 4 or 6-cylinder aircraft or water-cooled large displacement, V8 automotive engine, ranging from 50 to over 600 HP. Automotive engines tend to be less expensive due to readily available replacement parts and less expensive high-octane automotive gas. Since in a post 4 or 6-cylinder, 04 or 06, aircraft power plant contains fewer moving parts than a standard automotive engine, it is easier to repair and weighs less. 3. 1. However, automotive engines can be repaired by more common car mechanics and do not require specialized repair personnel like aircraft engines do. 5. Most of the sound produced by an airboat comes from the propeller, although the engine itself also contributes some noise. Modern airboat designs are significantly quieter thanks to mufflers and multi-blade carbon fiber propellers. Safety. As with any vehicle, the safety of an airboat is dependent on the training and skill of its operator and use of safety features like seat belts and flotation devices /life jackets. Airboats should only be piloted by trained and qualified operators. 5. And knowledge of operational safety is essential when operating an airboat. 3. Over 75 airboat accidents happened in Florida between 2014 and 2017, resulting in 7 deaths and 102 severe injuries. Most, 5 of 7, deaths were drownings, and 90% of accident victims were not wearing life jackets, even though only 30% knew how to swim. Not wearing a seatbelt is another major predictor of injury in an accident. 40% of injured victims and the only 2 non-drowning fatalities were flung from their seats in the crashes. The most common injuries suffered in airboat accidents are severe cuts, bruises, and broken limbs. Other severe injuries are not uncommon. 10% of injured people suffered neck and back injuries requiring surgery and long-term pain medication, and another 10% suffered traumatic head and brain injuries. 3. Aft view of a safety cage during operation. Most airboat accidents, 64%, are the fault of the operator, according to a 2017 analysis by the Miami New Times. Almost always due to one of 3 factors. 3. A lack of boating education or training. A lack of safety equipment, such as seat belts or flotation devices, or a failure to properly use safety equipment. Or reckless behavior, including drug or alcohol consumption and improper lookout. The engine and propeller of an airboat are enclosed in a protective metal cage that prevents objects, such as tree limbs, branches, clothing, beverage containers, passengers, or wildlife, from coming into contact with fuel-hurling propeller. which can cause traumatic injury to the operator and passengers or devastating damage to the vessel. 5. Safety cages do not always work perfectly, however. People have had their fingers sliced off the airboat propellers, and tree branches entering safety cages. Have wrecked airboat propellers and sprayed the operators and passengers with wood chips and other shrapnel. 3. Airboats are prone to capsizing and sinking because they are top-heavy, unstable, and extremely shallow draft. This makes them especially dangerous on the open sea or in rough or stormy conditions. 33. Airboats with a long-belled gear reduction drive unit and an automobile engine avoid these risks because the long belt allows for the engine to be mounted inside the hull, which lowers the center of gravity and lowers the capsizing risk. 5. Some companies and organizations, including Airboat West and the Los Alamos National Laboratory, have built airboats with low centers of gravity for use in windy or rough conditions or in rescues with obstacles like low-hanging power lines. 34. Airboats can also be equipped with auto-inflation devices, similar to car airbags or auto-inflating personal life vests, that can reduce the risk of capsizing. 5. In 1999, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's National Conservation Training Center, located in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, produced a 70-minute training video entitled Airboat Safety Design Operation Maintenance in cooperation with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. In Jacksonville, Florida. The video includes an early history of airboats and interviews with 2 airboat manufacturers in Florida. It was considered to be the only airboat video of its kind when it was made and may still be the only one with range of airboat subject matter ever produced in the U.S. Since it was produced by the federal government of the United States, it is in the public domain. 500 copies of the video were reproduced. 35. Regulation. On the 30th of March, 2018, Governor Rick Scott of Florida signed Ellie's law, which requires operators to complete CPR instruction and a course on airboats run by the state's Wildlife Commission. The law is named after Elizabeth Ellie Goldenberg, who died from an airboat accident in Miami-Dade County the day after her graduation from college. 36. Beginning the 1st of July, 2019, airboat operators will need to be able to show proof they completed the training courses. Violations are a misdemeanor offense punishable by up to a $500 fine. Florida state law also stipulates that airboats must have an automotive-style factory muffler, underwater exhaust, or other manufactured device capable of adequately muffling the sound of the engine exhaust, and an international orange flag that is at least 10 by 12 flying from a mast or flagpole that is at least 10 feet taller than the lowest point on the boat, in order to increase visibility and reduce the odds of a collision. 37. Airboat operators, pilots, or drivers in Florida must be 14 or older. 38. Rescue. A resident is transported by airboat after Hurricane Katrina. In recent years, airboats have proven indispensable for flood shallow water and ice rescue operations. As a result, they have grown in popularity for public safety uses. During the flooding of New Orleans following Hurricane Katrina August 29, 2005, airboats from across the United States rescued thousands of flood victims. 39. 30 airboats crewed by civilian volunteers evacuated over 1,100 patients and 4,000 medical personnel and family members from 4 downtown New Orleans hospitals in less than 36 hours. 40. This Cajun Navy morphed into a grassroots volunteer search and rescue organization that has deployed to rescue people during Hurricane Harvey, 41, Hurricane Florence, 42, and other natural disasters. 43. Numerous articles have been published in fire rescue trade journals such as Fire Engineering and National Fire and Rescue magazine describing the advantages, capabilities, and benefits of using airboats for water rescue operations, and providing in-depth description of actual water rescue incidents, including flooding of New Orleans. 1, 40, 44, 5, 45, 46. Airboats are particularly effective at water rescues in shallow, marshy, or icy winter environments. Airboats are partially amphibious and can therefore navigate effectively over obstacles, such as partially submerged buildings and wreckage or sea ice, that would